will be the timekeeper of today's session. When you will have 30 seconds left of your speaking time, she will give you a notice of yellow placard. And when your time is up, you will see her hold up a red notice. Yes, thank you very much. Perhaps organization check. It would be good to remove the blurring. Yeah, thank you. And host of today's session is Mr. Mutwi, who will be giving you the speaking floor as we progress through the match.
So, just for you to know, we are now on YouTube, so welcome everybody as well on YouTube for this match of the Egg Inter-University Law Debate Tournament 2022, organized by the Corax Foundation. So, my name is Aurélien Lorange, with my colleague Mr. Bonova and as well my other colleagues Ms. Varley and Mr. Mutwi. We'll have the pleasure to welcome for this match two teams, one from National University of Singapore, and one from Chuo University, which is in Tokyo in Japan. So now I will give the floor to my colleague Mr. Mutwi, who will be the host of this match and will guide you from the beginning until the end.
Hello, good evening, or good morning. Today's match is between the Chuo University and Singapore University. And now Mr. Lorange will proceed to the position, to the determination of the positions.
First, you can ask the students to introduce themselves before.
Yeah. So we'll go with Futaba Tamura. Can you present yourself, introduce yourself briefly, please?
My name is Futaba Tamura. I'm a Chuo University student, and it is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay. Marcus D, can you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcus D. I'm currently a year one, studying law at the National University of Singapore. Very pleased to meet everyone here as well. Looking forward to a fruitful debate.
Honoka Kawano.
Everyone, my name is Honoka Kawano, and my faculty is law, but I do not belong to seminars, so I have no major. But I am interested in international law, and especially space law. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Sean Song.
Good evening from Singapore. I'm Sean Song. I'm a year one student at NUS Law.
And Ms. Mao Eara.
Good morning or good evening. I'm Mao Ihara from Chuo University. I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you.
And last but not least, Mr. Jin Yi Lei. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening and good morning, everybody. I'm year one from NUS Law, National University of Singapore as well, studying law. Pleased to be here and look forward to a pleasant debate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I take now the floor to do the randomizing of positions. So just to remind everybody, the topic of today, the debate match, is about authorities must keep open possible investigations on non-solved crimes, commonly called cold case, without any time limitation. So that was the topic for today. Now we share my screen, so you will see the randomizing done with a wheel with the different positions. So now you should see the wheel with two possibilities. So both universities could be in favor or against. So now we'll just click on the wheel and we'll know which position will be given to each team for that match. So for that match, that will be the National University of Singapore will be defending the position that the authorities must keep open possible investigations, and that will be for Chuo University to be against that position, meaning that they will be defending the position that the authorities must not keep open possible investigations. So my colleague Ms. Sorbanova, you will as well start the 5 minutes of preparation. So during the 5 minutes you can review your notes, and after the end of these 5 minutes we'll start the match.
Your time is up, so I invite you to open your camera. The University of Singapore, you now have the floor for your opening statement. You have 4 minutes.
Good morning, judges. In the modern age, advancements in forensic investigation techniques have made solving crimes exponentially easier. For instance, police units now utilize high-speed ballistics photography, fingerprinting, 3D facial recognition to improve the speed and accuracy of their investigations. Despite the increasing ease at which cases can be solved, there are still over thousands of cold cases open in every jurisdiction. This therefore begs the question as to why this is the case. The reason why there remain so many cold cases is because there are no incentives to work on them. A survey conducted by the US Department of Justice in 2007 found that there are very little institutional support provided for cold case investigators. Furthermore, there are also little to no incentives provided to the authorities to solve them. Therefore, it is clear that although existing cold cases can be easily solved using modern-day forensic technology, the lack of incentives is the main reason why so many remain unsolved. This lack of incentive is further worsened by imposing a time limit. This is because the police will be even less motivated to solve a cold case if they know that the cold case will be cleared and taken out of their job scope by simply idling on the investigations for a set period of time. Before we go into our substantive arguments, our group would first like to lay out the perimeters of the debate. For crimes, we'll be centering our debate on major crimes, such as white-collar and homicide offences. Cold cases, by definition, refer to an unsolved criminal investigation which remains open pending discovery of new evidence. Therefore, we believe that the authorities must keep open possible investigations on cold cases without time limitations. I submit the following reasons. Firstly, we argue that keeping cold cases open will ensure justice to victims of crime. Second, we believe that keeping these cold cases open will maintain the public's trust in authorities. Third, Sean will also put forward the argument that not closing cold cases will assist in the solving of newer crimes. And lastly, Marcus will conclude by arguing that the development of technology reinforces the importance of keeping cold cases open. Judges, I shall now turn to our first argument in this debate. We believe that keeping cold cases open will ensure justice to victims. In every crime, there is at least one victim, and every victim has a fundamental right and identifiable needs that should be served by the justice system. This is espoused by the American Bar Association. As victims are a critical component of a criminal justice system, their issues and concerns are an integral part of policing in the 21st century. In principle, therefore, cold cases should be kept open, as the imposition of a time limit would obviate any possibility of justice being served at all. This is because cold cases, by their nature, are unsolved due to the lack of any new evidence that can advance the investigations. By closing cold cases, investigators lose all opportunity and access to the case. Hence, criminals in the cold cases will never be brought to justice, and consequently, justice to the victims will never be achieved. Justice is sacrosanct as a principle because the state owes the citizens a duty as part of a social contract to ensure that justice is served. Further, it is acknowledged by the UN that justice is a fundamental building block of stability and peace. Therefore, by obviating any possibility of justice being served, the citizens will lose their trust in authorities, which may even further encourage vigilantism, which is not ideal. Therefore, I conclude my substantive opening.
Thank you very much. Chuo University, you have the floor for your opening statement. You have 4 minutes.
So there are many cold cases in the world, ranging from minor offense to violent crimes. In order to solve as many of these cases as possible, we believe that a statute of limitation should be established, and the investigation should be conducted with an awareness of time limits. First of all, we believe that there are advantages in financial aspect. Investigating the case naturally involves various costs, such as personnel cost for investigators and the cost of examining evidence. For example, on Maddie McConn's disappearance case, which has been open since 2009 in England, has spent over £11 million. Without a statute of limitations, not all cases would be treated equally, and even though there are many similar cases, only specific cases would inevitably be prioritized, and all crimes have victims, and all of them have a desire to see their cases resolved, regardless of the extent of the damage. Therefore, there should be no such thing as a case that should be solved on the priority basis. Furthermore, while taxpayer money is used to investigate criminal cases, it is not a public benefit to use citizens' money only to solve specific cases. The statute of limitation controls the number of cases that an agency must investigate, thus reducing the concern that the agency will continue to focus on a particular case for the time, and also controlling the number of cases through state statutes of limitations will also help investigative agency work more efficiently. If the number of cases continues to grow indefinitely, the amount of time that can be devoted to a single case will naturally decrease, and as a result, the path to resolution of any case will take longer, and the accumulation of cases that have little chance of being solved may reduce the motivation of investigators, and this could also reduce the efficiency of investigations. And moreover, if an investigation of a case that occurred long ago is still ongoing, the likelihood that testimony of one of the key pieces of evidence will become ambiguous is extremely high. And of course, physical evidence rarely changes its form from the time of the incident, but it is quite possible that testimony, which is based on human memory, can change form over time. And even if a witness believes that he or she has a correct memory, the actual memory may be deformed by various external influences, and the witness may give testimony that is different from the actual fact. And if the statute of limitations were eliminated, it would be possible to testify based on memories from decades ago, but the effectiveness of such testimony an investigation is questionable. So therefore, the establishment of statutes of limitations for cold cases is essential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. National University of Singapore, you have 2 minutes for your first rebuttal. You have the floor.
Thank you. As much as the opponent harps on the cost of keeping such cold cases open, ultimately, I believe that society has a duty to ensure that justice itself is served, and the cost itself is rather inconsequential when balanced with the justice that needs to be served to the victims. The justice in and of itself, as I harped on earlier, is part of the social contract that is created between the citizen and the state. And therefore, to suggest that just because keeping such cold cases open entails increasing costs would sacrifice the fundamental principle on which our society is built on. With that addressed, I will now move on to my second argument. Our team believes that keeping cold cases open will maintain the public trust in authorities. As espoused by research done by Arizona State University, citizens demand an extremely high level of performance. They expect their communities to be crime-free and criminal cases to be resolved. In addition, research suggests that outcome-oriented aspects of police performance are linked to citizens' overall image of the police. where the number of unsolved cases is a key indicator. By solving cold cases after a limited period of time, the number of unsolved cases will invariably balloon, as the cold cases lose all possibility of being solved. Consequently, as the number of unsolved cases is also an outcome-oriented aspect of police performance, the increasing number of unsolved crimes will only damage public trust in the authorities, which is detrimental to society. As recognized by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, public trust is the foundation for the legitimacy of public institutions and a functioning democratic society. If we were to follow the opponent's motion of keeping cold cases open for only a limited period of time, the public trust in the authorities will be undermined. Thank you, and I conclude my submissions.
Chuo University, now your first rebuttal, you have 2 minutes.
I believe that the statutes of limitations should apply. There are 3 reasons. Firstly, it would be better if there were a statute of limitations so that there would be a kind of closure and the bereaved families and the victims would not be tormented for a long time. It would be terrible to continue to be betrayed for decades in the hope that the matter might someday be resolved. It is better then to apply matters and let people think that it is over. Secondly, if the statute of limitations is removed, the number of cold cases may increase and distrust of the police may increase. There may also be complaints about how long they are sticking to cold cases. If there were no statute of limitations, the number of cases the agency would have to investigate would increase. If there were an increase and the investigative agencies could no longer function, confidence in the judiciary would disappear and the situation would be worse than an increase in the number of cold cases. Third, the older the memory, the more ambiguous it becomes. For example, when shown the face of a potential culprit, someone might testify that this could be the person, even though the memory is old and vague. Since a cold case takes a lot of money, time, and effort, and investigators sometimes want to get it over with quickly, they will be falsely accused if they use that wrong evidence and as evidence to free themselves from the job. In addition, first speaker said that technology will advance. Think it's inappropriate to use decades-old objects because the objects in evidence are also outdated. This is why we think the statute of limitations is needed. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. University of Singapore, your second rebuttal, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, judges. While the opposing team may argue that keeping cold cases open would be an expense of our resources for minimal benefit, this view is, respectfully, short-sighted and not fully reflective of the facts. No expense is too great, no effort too small in seeking justice for the victims of heinous crimes. The opposing team makes the argument that there will be closure for victims by not having cold cases open. But the fundamental premise of a cold case is that it has yet to be solved. It sounds unbelievable that the opposing team is trying to argue that victims will get closure when they are unable to find out the real reason why they have suffered the losses and damages that they have. Lastly, the opposing team have also argued that the establishment of a statute of limitations for cold cases will lead to greater efficiency. Judges, in our third argument directly addressing this point, our team believes not closing cold cases will assist in the solving of newer crimes. When we have cold cases over vicious and cruel crimes, it means that the perpetrators are still lurking amongst us, waiting for the next opportunity to pounce. If we were to adopt what the opposing team is suggesting, we are basically granting such criminals a free pass to their crimes, allowing them to go on killing and killing and killing to no end. However, by keeping cold cases open, it provides the authorities with the ability and the incentive to make links between such crimes establishing timelines and patterns that can help create a more well-rounded and developed profile of the criminal. These allow for greater ability and efficiency of our authorities to catch pre-existing criminals and will allow for greater benefits for all involved. As such, we strongly support the argument the authorities must keep open investigations on cold cases without any time limitations. And I conclude my submissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuo University, you have 2 minutes for your second rebuttal. You have the floor.
Of course, it's possible to consider that cold cases could be the clue for the other cases, but if we are swayed by the past cases, we tend not to concentrate on the current issues. It means a kind of unfair unless we can put enough budget into new cases. And the older memories, the more ambiguous evidence. For instance, when shown the faces of a potential corrupt, someone must testify that it might be this person, even though their memory is old and fake. Even if investigating unsolved cases costs a lot and takes much time, some investigators want to finish earlier. And if a new serious incident were to occur, establishing such a system is expected to result in lower funding for cold cases. However, attempting to solve cases that remain unsolved, even after a long period of time, would require a large amount of funds, and a small budget would not lead to a solution, making the investment pointless. It is more efficient not to invest funds if there is no prospect. And of course, we have to consider the victim's benefit, but effective investigations make the whole society benefit. If we focus on just individual victims, it would cause a bad impact on society, like shortage of manpower for the police and the lack of budget. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. The National University of Singapore, you have 2 minutes for your conclusion.
Thank you, judges. As the final speaker for my team, I have two key main points to make. The first being that the development of modern forensic technology reinforces the importance of keeping cold cases open. And secondly, that the opposition's argument that opening cold cases will result in huge economic costs is flawed. On my first point, modern forensic technology already enables greater verification of documentary evidence, which most parties allege are lost in current cases. And this is particularly important because what matters here is the attempt at bringing closure, where we can adopt a moral rather than a utilitarian perspective. This also ties in nicely to the fact that cold cases can also be viewed through a rehabilitative lens, because if we try to extrapolate psychometric data, it will allow us to come up with a pattern which will enable society to prevent recurring crimes from occurring. On the second point, the opposing team has also made the argument that due to huge economic and opportunity costs, that cold cases should not be reopened. However, we submit that this point is moot due to the concept of diminishing marginal returns. Just because you want to throw more manpower in particular departments, it does not mean that the outcome will be more effective or that the case will be solved more efficiently. The opposition has also failed to flesh out any substantial statistics on how a rededication of manpower in the police force will result in a more beneficial outcome. The opposition becomes even more unsustainable when we consider the negative perception that surrounds modern police forces. On to my final ancillary point, the second part of my analysis on how cold cases can form a rehabilitative lens also means that if we do not solve current cold cases, it will lessen our ability to fix current cases as well. In light of the arguments that we have submitted, our team humbly asks that the judges uphold the motion that authorities must keep open possible investigations on cold cases without any time limitation. With that, the National University of Singapore concludes our submissions.
Thank you. And finally, the conclusion of Chuo University. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. We'll now recap and reinforce the main topics presented where we stated time limitations should be imposed in court cases. As opposing team said, some court cases can be solved using advanced technology. However, we believe we should prioritize the advantages of setting time limitation on court cases. Above all else, even without time limits, all cases are addressed equally, not like as we mentioned in the case of Maddie's disappearance. Jenny Jones, who is a member of the London Assembly, said it was unfair to other crime victims to have all these funds allocated to one missing person case and not to others. We must treat all crimes fairly because almost all crimes have victims and there's no priority among them. Moreover, court cases are tough to work. It means new cases come in every day and it is difficult for some smaller departments or agencies to review court cases because of the manpower it takes. And again, it's important to look back at the necessity of time limitation. In reality, it can help the investigators work more efficiently because the number of crimes are controlled by a statute of limitations. If the time limit was removed, it could possibly lead to witnesses testifying based on old and ambiguous memories, which could then lead to false convictions. The more time passes, the less likely it is that progress will be made in the case. Based on these arguments, we emphasize authorities should not keep court cases investigations open without any time limitation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And this ends today's debate. Well done to you all. Congratulations. Now it's time to have a quick feedback from all of you, first of all. Futaba, what was your overall impression? What is the main feedback that you will give to the opposite team and to your own team?
Thank you for all. It was very interesting to discuss debate because it was my first time to debate with foreign university students, so I had good experience. Thank you.
Mr. Marcus D, what would be your general remark to your own team and to the opposite team?
Thank you, judges. I think that the opposition team did a very good job in fleshing out the opposing arguments, and I felt that our side has responded to them in kind. So I'd like to thank everyone here for the fruitful debate session as well. Yep.
Ms. Honoka Kawano?
That I attend debate tournament and I enjoy so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sean Song, same question. What will you give as a remark to the opposite team and to your own team?
I would like to thank both sides. I echo what Marcus has said. I think both sides had a very fruitful discussion on the topic at hand.
Thank you. And Ms. Mao Ihara?
I researched both positions and found it interesting to discover something new here. So thank you very much.
And finally, Mr. Jin Yilei.
I would like to echo what both of my learned friends have already said, and I thank everyone for the fruitful debate that we had.
And now we will give the floor to the judge present here, Ms. Emily Sipjowski, who is one of the judges for today's match. And I invite her to give feedback to both teams.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. This was really enjoyable to watch your debates and to see your preparation. And I think both teams proved to be very good advocates in what you were doing. A few things that I particularly liked. I really liked your use of sources, of studies, of some sort of additional basis to the way that you were arguing. Really do try to use more of that. That's a very nice way to base your argument, to give more authority to that argument. So I thought that was a very, very nice technique that you've both had. Something else that I would encourage and that I liked that I think can be improved though as well, make sure you give a really nice solid roadmap at the beginning of your argument so I know where you're headed and what direction you're going to take on that argument. It's extremely helpful coming into this. And the final point that I want to make is on presentation style and argumentation style that we have in light of this little box that we all have to present in. Do try to position your box in such a way so that I can see your hand gestures, that I can see other aspects of your presentation style. And it's not just hand gestures, use your voice. Voice to slow down, to stop, to use it in a different way that enhances your argumentational style. Overall, I have to say though, I really enjoyed what you did, and it was clear that both teams have really put preparation into this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So on that positive note, this ends today's match. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning for those in The Hague.
Thank you very much to both teams and the present judge, Dr. Sipierski. And the results of the match, which are the compilation of scores provided by 3 judges, will be made available to you in the beginning of the next week. The judges have a period of time to review the match and score the teams. And also keep an eye out on the emails. We'll also announce the results on the official social media channels. And again, well done to both teams. And we look forward to your next matches and perhaps also welcoming you in the accompanying events, first of which is happening next week on 23rd of March on development of soft skills for legal professionals. Again, well done and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.